outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Good evening and welcome to Newton, Iowa and Iowa Speedway, the 7 8-mile speed plant built by Rusty Wallace and Company out here in the Great Plains. My name is Tony Stevens, Joe Cortez alongside Tim Terry up in the booth as we speak, getting ready to take in the NASCAR Xfinity Series B Class here on iRacing on iRacing Night on Fans Choice TV and iRacing Live. So glad you could join us. And Joe, this racetrack, very fun racetrack, very different racetrack, but it's a track most drivers really enjoy and puts on a great show.
Oh, absolutely it does. You saw this last year in the iRacing Pro Race of Champions. A nice race is going to be a lot of fun. You're going to see a lot of guys going crazy on this 1/8 of a mile's little speedway. This is, a great place to run the late models. And when you take the B cars, it'll have a little bit more power, a little bit more downforce, Tony. It's going to make for a lot of fun racing. Look for a lot of guys to just be going out there to have a good time tonight.
Gonna be fun, no doubt about it. A couple of things to watch. Obviously, moving up the racetrack, there is compound banking here, but sometimes it's not quite as lucrative to move up the racetrack as it would be at some places. And there's one key factor in turn one, and that's the bumps. Getting over the tunnel where the racetrack has settled, it has gotten really, really bumpy for sure, and that might be one of the trouble spots a little bit later here tonight. We're gonna head up to the booth. Tim Terry, looks like we're about ready to go racing, my friend.
Yeah, we're getting ready to go racing. This is 125 laps around the Iowa Speedway here this evening for round number 10. Let's go down our starting grid. And it's Trent Ringler on top of the board, your point leader in this NASCAR iRacing Class B Series. Ryan Lowe to his outside in the 1.
Armando Vargas is going to roll off in P number 3 in the 15 car, and Ryan Manning will be outside row number 2.
Row number 3 belongs to 12 of Brian Emmerman on the inside, the 3 of Thomas Takis on the outside.
We got Tristan Combs in the number 22 car to the outside, the 8 of Matthew Davis.
Michael Van Osdal starts 9th, and Chandler Kreisig will end up in the 10th spot.
Chris Jennings, the 11th position, and the 9 machine on the outside of him will be Alex Bergeron, the 7 and 12.
Jeff Dukart will start the 16 from position number 13. He's top 10 in points, and Shannon Sigler will roll from position 14.
Kyle Young will pilot the number 19 car here tonight, and Brian Vieira will roll off on P16.
17 belongs to Brian Castle on the outside of him. J.R. Burke came out 18th.
Oh, it's my buddy Matt Coker. He's going to start in position number 19 to the outside, John Ryan in the 11.
Bruno Barbugli is in the 21st spot, and Leandro Morisawa starts 22nd.
Rounding out your field will be the 18 of Chris Pence, the 23 of Kenny Lopez, and the 24 of Billy Weeks will be your field of 25 here at Iowa Speedway. Guys, it's iRacing night, and get ready for a lot of fun here at Iowa Speedway.
And this is a really international field, as we can come to expect on iRacing. Tony, what was that last row that you mentioned back there?
I think they were all from Brazil, to be completely honest with you, Tim. Bruno Barbugli, Leandro Morisawa, all from Brazil. Also, Junior Borborema being shown from Brazil, and we've got representation all over the United States in this particular race as well. So iRacing certainly a very international sport as much as it is a very close-knit sport.
Oh, absolutely it is, and you see that talent here in play tonight. Drivers from all over the world racing from the comfort of their own homes, guys, which means only one thing. Get ready for some good, fun, clean racing here at Iowa Speedway. Well, at least good fun, let's put it that way.
When you look at your top 10 in the point standings in this series, and this series runs races every 2 hours, at the top of the hour, you got guys like Trent Ringler, Brian Ammerman, going on down the list. Van Asdal, who's going to start back in 9th. Got a lot of guys that are familiar with this car, familiar with this series. They spend a lot of time building these setups for the NASCAR iRacing Class B Open Series, and they're getting ready to display it over 125 laps around the Iowa Speedway. Glad you could be with us here on fanschoice.tv and iRacing Live, as the pace car is going to head to pit road right here. And we're going to get underway for 125 laps of short track racing. Trent Ringler going to lead him to green.
Green flag is out, and here goes Ringler and Lowe off into turn number 1. Ringler got the advantage on the initial start, and look behind him, Armando Vargas up the racetrack, Joe. That's the bumps we talked about the outset before we went to the grid. Humongous bumps here at Iowa getting into turn number 1. Why? Well, the way the racetrack has settled over the years creates a very precarious spot getting into turn number 1, and already we've seen at least the leaders. Looks like the groove moving up the racetrack closer to the middle, if not the outside wall.
Groove moving up toward the racetrack, and it's not a bad thing to see. It's not any unusual thing to see here at Iowa Speedway as you watch a 15 and 3 continue to battle side by side, give the advantage to the 15, but now that 3 car is going to continue to try down low. That's Thomas Takas as he tries to get the pass. Can he do it this time by? No, he's going to need one more lap to make that pass work.
Ryan Manning got really, really loose in front of those guys. He's going to maintain third. That was a close call off corner number 4 for car number 10. Meanwhile, the 3 and the 15 going to go side by side for position number 4. The 15 going to get the run out of corner number 2 and down the back straightaway to take that position. Tony, the last time we saw the Iowa Speedway here on iRacing Live was during the iRacing Pro Race Champions. We saw the exact same thing, that second to third groove being the preferred line around here. Yes, you can work the inside line, but preferred groove around the second groove, just a little bit off that first groove down there.
Seems to vary, Tim. Turn 1, everybody tends to be closer to the bottom. Turns 3 and 4, the middle towards middle top seems to be the place to be. So a racetrack that is otherwise symmetrical, driving completely different. And as we mentioned, the bumps getting into turn 1 right there as they cross the tunnel in the middle of turns 1 and 2 seems to be one of the reasons a lot of drivers take that lower lane. Plus, Joe, it allows them to drive straighter up at turn number 2. They're able to get into the gas a little sooner, carry more speed down that short chute of a back straightaway into the third turn.
But right now, everyone's playing the conservation game. As you see, it looks like your top 20, all single file through the field here to start off this race. The nearest battle right now going on is going to be all the way towards the back of the field, where you see the 14 and 25 side by side. The 14 that belongs to Leandro Morisawa on the outside. Ian Brian Vieira is still trying to hold that position for position number 18 or 19 and 18. It looks like out there. Meanwhile, back up front, battle for second.
Battle for position number 2 with the 1 and the 10. Manning on Ryan Lowe. Ryan and Ryan going at it for P2. The 10 car is on the move after that little slide earlier in the race. He's going to look at the number 1, give him a little bump through 3, and he's not going to get there at a corner number 4. The momentum stopped on that middle groove there trying to get Ryan Lowe. Seemed like that 10 car wanted to maybe even go through that number 1 car a little bit there, Tony.
He certainly got through the center really well. In fact, got to the gas a little too early, at least compared to what Ryan Lowe did. And that maybe it was a reality check for Ryan Manning of, hey, this is a long race. Chill out, bro. Don't do anything crazy. So he's fallen back a couple of car lengths. And already, Joe, this race starting to remind me of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series when they race here at Iowa. In fact, they'll be at Iowa this coming weekend on Saturday night. The Casey's General Stores 150. If you're anywhere near the Iowa Speedway, I encourage you to stop out. Some great racing you'll see there. And of course, the NASCAR Xfinity Series will be there on Sunday afternoon. But the way this racetrack is spreading out really reminds me of one of those K&N races. And I've seen a couple of really good K&N races. In fact, a lot of them here at Iowa. They tend to start like this. Everybody making their own pace, running their own race. But when they get down to the end, Joe, it becomes chaos and the racing becomes fantastic.
And chaos we could see, remember, it's only lap 10 right now of 125 to go. So we've got plenty of racing to go out here. And again, everyone's so far just kind of playing the conservation game. Everybody out here just saving their tires, saving their fuel, making sure that they actually finish in the first place in order to see what they can do at the end of this race. Kind of like what happened in the Pro Race of Champions last when he last came live from here on iRacing Live. Let's ride the rear bumper of the 17 machine. That's Shannon Siegler as he's getting now a little bit of challenge from Michael Van Assault in position number 10.
And Van Asdal, one of those drivers that really puts in a lot of effort to this NASCAR iRacing Class B series, and moving up in this race right now is the number 6 just behind the 17, and just in front of the 17 there's a little bobble from Alex Bergeron in car number 7 as they try to bridge the gap between themselves and what is now the battle for, I believe that's position number 6 up there with Amarin and Davis. 12 laps completed right here as we continue green, and looks like everybody seems to be minding their P's and Q's right now, Tony, not really forcing the issue at this point to pick up these positions. It is a very long race here compared to some of them that we might see on the service in the B fixed division or the C. 125 laps, you get a little time to work around here.
You do, Tim, and really, even in reality, this is a long race by NASCAR Xfinity Series standards. 250 laps is a little over 200 miles here at the Iowa Speedway, being 7/8 of a mile. So this race, even in reality, a bit of a marathon compared to the other sprints that the Xfinity Series runs. And that makes it one of these races where you've got multiple opportunities to work on your race car, to try to improve your position, and try to do what you need to do in order to get to the front of the field. So we don't expect it to be really crazy early for that very reason. These guys know they've got at least one, if not 2 pit stops probably ahead of them, Joe. So if the car isn't right yet, they've got an opportunity to work on it.
Absolutely they do, and what they're going to do in this first set of laps here is they're just really going to take their time to evaluate the car, see what the car does, see where their setup lies, and ultimately see where exactly this car is going to set up throughout the rest of the race. So this first part of the race, this preliminary part, as just kind of a shakedown for the car, where it's going to run, where it's going to run best, and how it's going to run late in the race. By knowing those things, they're going to set themselves up for a good race later down the line.
17 down to the inside of the 7, the 6 also here as well as Bergeron begins to fall back a little bit in the early stages of this event on lap number 17 of 125. The 6 of Van Azalt also trying to make a move around these 2 in front of him, and we saw the middle groove around 3 and 4, that lower groove as you mentioned, Tony, in 1 and 2, but it's providing some great side-by-side racing here.
It is, Tim. The progressive banking, that's exactly why it was designed the way it was, and how it was essentially designed to work, for that matter. As you can see, you watch Bergeron, Segler, Van Osdal all right there in the middle of that. The one thing you've got to be careful about, however, is overheating the tires, particularly when you're trying to pinch the car down here. The car has a real bad tendency to, whoa, hello, watch out, 7-car Bergeron, to do just that. Very easily, you can crank some wheel into it, and whoa, hello, there goes Van Osdal up the racetrack now. These guys are illustrating my point perfectly. Very easy to get the car to cut, and then start to get tight, and finally, when you let go of the wheel, you grip the front tires, and the back end wants to snap around. Very easy to do, and because of that, sometimes it's very easy to lose control of the car, center and off here at Iowa, particularly in turn number 4 and even in turn number 2. So something to watch for as the race goes on. Guys really having to get out of it and manhandle those cars on the exit of each corner.
Absolutely, you're right there. You're right there, Tony. And, as these guys work these cars out, work out all the bugs on these cars, they're going to get an idea of where this race is going to go for them and ultimately what kind of car they have down the road. Let's take a look now at the battle between the 20 and the 18. It looks like that's Chandler Krizek on the out and the inside, and it's going to be the 19 of Bruno Barbuli on the outside. Now the 13 is going to come in for the ride as well. That 13 machine belongs to Bruno Barbuli. Kyle Young, I should check that. It's on the outside. I think guys running side by side now, and some guys don't want to leave anything to chance. Chandler Krizek is definitely one of them as he tries to make the aggressive move on the inside. Not going to happen though through turns 1 and 2.
And as they go side by side, we see Kyle Young on the outside, as you mentioned there, Joe. And Tony, there's a name that we're used to seeing on the league side of iRacing, and that's a great thing about this service. Yes, you can hop in and you can go racing with any of these drivers that you see here in this Be Open division, but iRacing also offers private leagues where you can set up your own league and go racing with your buddies. And Kyle Young is one of those drivers that when we broadcast races, we're used to seeing that name and hopping into the Be Open division and doing quite well early, though I'm sure he wants to be a little higher than 18th, and he's got now the 13 to the inside as he tries to hold off that 13 on the outside line for Kyle Young.
And that's getting to be a little harder as the race wears on. There you see able to slide up in the outside line for Bruno Barbugli. He will slide ahead of the 14 of Marisala, his countryman there, as they race back towards the tail end of the top 20. And Here goes Barbugli once again on the bottom. You would think, Joe, he would figure out the bottom may not be the place to be unless you want to try to pull a slide job here at Iowa. But there is a theory. Go where they're not. That's what he just did. And Barbugli able to pull off the spot as they work out down the front straightaway to complete lap number 24. Further up front, battle for the 4th spot. Armando Vargas has caught Tom Moustakis, and this is turning into a dandy little show for the 4th, 5th, and really even further on back to the tail end of the top 10 spots.
Well, absolutely it is. Now these guys are shaking up their cars a little bit. Now they're seeing what their cars are made of, and they're starting to see, what these cars can do and how they can make them work here on the track. So now you're starting to see guys like Krizik start to make the move. In behind them, Barbugli made the move. Leandro Morsawa making the move. Now it's Kyle Young defending against Kenny Lopez in the 23 machine. That very fluorescent pink 23 machine going to go side by side with him. And now I'm starting to wonder if Kyle Young just doesn't have the setup in his car. Now for him, it's less about shaking the car out and more about surviving than losing 10 spots.
You look back to Brian Ammerman in car number 12 from Tom Moustakis in the 3, and Armando Vargas set up that pass on the inside a couple of times. And Tony, it's like that battle that Joe was talking about around the 16th, 17th place position. You go to the inside, you try to set it up, you hope to get momentum off the corner. Easier said than done in 1 and 2 because it seems like that inside line is the place to be. But once you get to 3 and 4, that outside line seems to have a little more steam. You really have to pick and choose where you do pass and hope you can set it up that when you get off the corner, you can drive away with that position.
And if you do it somewhere else, Tim, you really have to hit your marks. As we've seen already, you can pass anywhere, top, bottom, middle, wherever you choose to go, but it requires precise execution. You have to be on your marks every time that you try to make those passes, because if you kill your momentum at all, it's not going to end well for you. You're not going to be able to pass the car in front of you. And for that matter, you might even lose a spot to somebody behind you. And speaking of losing spots, Joe, Trent Ringler is in danger of losing the top spot to Ryan Manning. Manning has reeled him in from about a second or so back, and the gap is now inches as they work off turn 4.
And we might have our first lead change of the evening as Ringler now under fire from Ryan Manning, side by side at the start-finish line to score lap number 31. To begin scoring lap 31, no contest as Manning hits the loud pedal in the turn, and Manning will take away the lead for the first time from Trent Ringler, position number 1. Way to go, Brian Manning. He's now going to get the point for leading the lap. Trent Ringler's going to figure out what he's going to do.
So the driver from the team goes to the top of the board. Ryan Manning will take P1, and Trent Ringler goes back to P2, and Ryan Lowe sits there in position number 3. We covered Richmond for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing a few weeks ago, and Ryan Lowe was one of those drivers that was near the front of the field. Iowa Speedway, Richmond International Raceway, both short tracks, and it wouldn't be surprised to see Ryan Lowe move up through the pack a little bit more as we get some battles here around mid-pack as Tom Moustakis has the outside of, I believe that's Brian Ammerman for the spot.
Ammerman's going to get that 5th spot, actually, Tim, and here comes Moustakis trying to look underneath him. He almost gave him the old heave-ho over in turn number 1. Couldn't quite get the spot reclaimed. He'll fall back in line. Now Shannon Segler on the 17 trying to find a way to pounce, and Moustakis, after starting the race in the 6th spot, he moved up a little bit. Now starting to drop back throughout the running order, and 33 laps into a run makes me think that we're about halfway through the pit cycle. I expect everybody, if the race were to go green, to pit right around lap 65, 68, somewhere in that ballpark. So Moustakis definitely going to have to work on that car, make it a little better on the late run. I'm not sure if that's going to be an air pressure adjustment, a track bar adjustment, whatever the case might be, but certainly it appears Tom Moustakis' car better on the short run. So here goes Segler now to the inside. Joe going to pin Moustakis up high. That might work out for Moustakis, but look at this. Here comes Bergeron. He might think about making it 3 wide over in turns 3 and 4.
Debating the merits? Yes, you are absolutely right, Tony. He's going to go 3 wide through turns 3 and 4. It's going to go side by side. Bergeron down low, Siegler in the middle, Moustakis on the outside. Now all 3 think better of it And now it's going to be the 3 of Mustakas and the 17 of Ziegler doing battle side by side through turns 3 and 4. Halfway through the run, if you're absolutely right, Tony, if this does go green flag, these guys could entirely bisect the race. And if they do bisect the race, we're going to see 1 pit stop, though that rarely happens. And especially in the latter half of the race, I don't think they're going to make this on 1 pit stop alone. We expect to see some more pit stops when the yellow flags fly. Right now, these the 3 and 17 are debating making one fly as they continue to battle side by side.
Yeah, if those yellow flags fly, that would be the strategy right now, one-stop race, if this thing does go green to checkered without a caution period in there. As the 3 smacks the wall off corner number 4, that's Tom Mustakas. The 7 of Bergeron will now take that position away, and it looks like one more possibly there for the 6 as Vanisdal closes in on the 7 and 17 battle for position, as that looks to be for 6th, 7th, and 8th. The 3 back on the attack. Tom Mustakas trying to pick up what he left on the table, but was talking to the spotter for the 10 of Ryan Manning, that's Greg McKinney from the team. They said they can make it on one stop, Tony, if this thing does go green to checkered, and they're thinking around lap 80 or so.
And Tim, that would put them with a shorter run towards the end of the race, and if that happens, it means you can burn your stuff up a little bit easier, or excuse me, a little bit quicker, because you have fewer laps. So you're able to push that car just a little bit harder, and that might be part of the plan that's in the cards right now for some of these teams and drivers who continue to circulate. It's going to be 40 laps complete this next time by. We're closing in very quickly, Joe, on 1/3 distance, and at the moment, certainly some comers and goers. Manning and Ringler have been solid up front, but look at Shannon Ziegler, the 17, started 14th up to 6th. Alex Bergeron, the 7, going forward as well. He has made up 5 spots since the start of the race. And you got people like Tristan Combs, who started 7th all the way back in 14th. Chris Jennings started 11th. He has dropped to 19th. So, again, certainly movers and shakers here at Iowa as we continue to campaign towards the halfway point.
Movers and shakers, absolutely. Iowa's one of those tracks where you absolutely love the run here because of the surface and the quality of the race, or you absolutely hate it because you can't just find that right little need. You can't find that right little item there to make it work for you out there. So Iowa, you either love it or you hate it, and there is no in between. And for some of the comers, they're loving the racetrack right now. For the guys who are set up for the short shoot, they're having a little bit of trouble right now. They're struggling just a little bit out there, but you know what? They'll figure it out and they'll get this running. If you're joining us and watching us here on TSR TV, if you're joining us on iRacing Live or fanschoice.tv, we certainly want to invite you to join the conversation on Twitter. Use the hashtag iRacingNight and join up, and be sure to join up with us and have a lot of fun. We've got Michael Conti tweeting and watching the race tonight. So be sure to join us on Twitter. iRacing Night's a hashtag. You can watch me on Periscope on the behind-the-scenes cam if you want.
And we're going to be back here on the next Tuesday with that NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing to see Mike Conti and the rest of his friends go at it at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. The 17 and the 7 have been putting on a show here for the last 5 laps or so. That 17 of Ziegler on the outside when he was trying to get past that 7, Tony, was using everything that he could at this racetrack and getting really, really close to the fence trying to pass that 7. And now that he has the position, looks like he's being a little more cautious around this racetrack, but the 7 still keeping him on his toes behind him.
And Tim, that's half the battle here. You don't just drive out the windshield, you drive out the mirror as much as you do that. And look at this. Bergeron driving it deep into turn number 3. That's really affecting his center and exit, but he hasn't lost overall, surprisingly. Makes me wonder if that car's starting to get a little bit tighter. Maybe it's a little too free. That's why he's actually having to drive it into turn number 3 the way he is to try to get that car to react the way that he needs it to make things happen. All this, remember, happening 7 seconds and then some behind the leader Ryan Manning, who's opened up over 2 seconds now over Trent Ringler and Ryan Lowe. So a lot of these guys scratching their head, I'm sure, and if they get a caution, I'll be very interested to see, Joe, who is as fast as Ryan Manning, who's got something for him, because you look at Shannon Ziegler and Alex Bergeron, as we mentioned, having to come through the field. I wonder how much time have they lost having to cut through traffic, and if they got the chance to be on equal footing, how would this race turn out?
Well, that's a very good question you asked there, Tony, and I think that it's really going to be a matter of what happens during that green flag pit stop, because we know one is going to be coming up here in about 20 laps or so, plus or minus. Right now, I think a lot of guys are set up for a short run, for a medium-sized run, not necessarily the full effect long run. So I think what's gonna happen is we're gonna see guys make the switch up, make the change. When we start seeing that green flag, when we start seeing those green flag pit stops, and when we see those shakeups, that's when you're really gonna start seeing people make the big move, make the better run, and ultimately challenge for that lead.
7 and 17 continuing to go at it. Bergeron putting the pressure on, and the 7 drove it in to corner number 3, and he is going to pick up the position, slide up in front of the 17, and he nearly got defensive. He did knock corner number 4, and with that move, it closes in Brian Ammerman. This is now a 3-car battle. As you look back from the 7, you're going to see the 12 back there of Ammerman as he closed in on those 2 for position at number 5. And the one thing we have to keep an eye on as well, Tony, I think Trent Ringler may have used his stuff up. He is falling back, as you mentioned, over 2 seconds. But Ryan Lowe is starting to creep in and try to reel in Trent Ringler. So we'll have to watch that as we keep going in this run.
Yeah, in fact, Lowe was trying to reel him in, like you said, Tim, but now he's fallen back substantially from the back bumper of Ringler. It was back to about half a second or so, and now it's nearly 1 full second from Ringler to Lowe. The guy I'm watching in the top 4 is going to be Armando Vargas. He has closed in on both of these guys, and Vargas might be a threat to move himself up to position number 3 in the next 5 or 6 laps, and then set his sights on Trent Ringler for the runner-up spot. Nothing is in question up front, however. Ryan Manning simply dominating this race in car number 10. In fact, he's to the point he's only car lengths away from lapping the number 19 of Kyle Young. Brian Vieira is soon to go a lap down. Same with Chris Pence and John Ryan. Those are the last 4 cars in the field and on the lead lap. And if they do not get a caution, they will go a lap down very quickly, Joe.
I don't anticipate a caution coming out in the next 10 laps at all, but anything could happen. It is Iowa, and crazier things have happened throughout the history of time here at Iowa Speedway. Ryan Manning running away from the field, as Nathan Fox points out on Twitter using the hashtag iRacing9. 3 seconds in counting from Ryan Manning and company. But let's take a look back around the 6 of Michael Van de Sal. He's got a nice little pack starting to come up behind him. Matthew Davis, Matt Kocher, Brian Castle, all behind those cars as well. And it looks like about a 5-car pack about to build up, all behind the 3 of Tom Moustakis, who started 6 and has dropped 2 positions. Might drop another one if that 6 machine, Michael Van de Sal, gets close to him.
Nice little 5-car battle. That 6 to the inside, trying to pick up that position on car number 3 of Tom Moustakis. The 8 has the 4 to the inside. Matt Coker going to try to pick up 1 spot here. The 21 of Brian Castle is also reeled in. These 4 in front of him. So we got side by side, stacked 2 deep, and Castle trying to stick his nose in it here. They get back to single file behind the battle between Moustakis and Van der Sal as he looks to the inside, trying to put Moustakis in his rearview mirror. He's falling back a little bit here on this run.
All kinds of things happening as we close in on the halfway mark, Tim. This battle with Moustakis and company, certainly a dandy as it works through turns 3 and 4. And for that matter, also watching the battle up for 3rd, Ryan Lowe and Armando Vargas with Moustakis, the one with the biggest amount of heat behind him right now, as he has got the number 6 of Van Osdal nearly sliding up into him. The 4 of Coker is there, and he's now going to move up 1 spot to position number 9. That one didn't work out very well for Michael Van Osdal. He moves from 9th back to 10th as this little train starting to pick up a huge head of steam as they work towards the start-finish line.
Biggest challenge, though, for this train right now, Tony, is the fact that they are going to start seeing some pit stops here in the next 5 to 10 laps as these guys try to bisect this race as best they can. Window should open up here in about 3 laps, and at that point, it's anybody's game. So they pick up the head of steam now as you see the 3, the 4, the 6 go 3 wide, trying to get around the 3 of Tom Moustakis. But it's all going to come to a stop when they start having those green flag pit stops we anticipate in the next 2 to 3 laps. You're riding on the back of that number 4 machine. That's Matt Kocher. As you see the 3 and 6 side by side through turns 1 and 2. All these drivers racing in the iRacing Sim, and if you want to get involved, here is your opportunity to do so. When you use our promo code for new subscribers only, you buy 1 month, we'll give you 2 free, as well as the late model will get you started on oval racing. Go to iRacing.com, use our promo code PR-2015 PSRTV. We'll buy 1 month, we'll give you 2 months free, and the late model as well to get you started on the iRacing Sim now and throughout the 2015 season.
The 21 of Brian Castle has gained 6 spots, but he missed the corner in 1 and 2, and he nearly got the wall in 3 and 4. Brian Castle, that's not a good lap for the number 21 nationwide car, as he will have the 6 to the inside, trying to pick up a spot as the 8 of Davis starts to move to the front, and the 22 of Tristan Combs has reeled in these cars in front of him. It was a 5-car battle. It's now about a 4-car battle as Moustakas and Coker begin to move away a little bit from these drivers in the battle for position number 10 or so. Lap 62 being worked on the board, and Tony, as Joe mentioned, a couple of laps away from halfway. That's when guys will start to think about it. Ryan Manning's crew says they're going to go to about lap 80 or so they're thinking another 15 or 20 laps until they pit. So we'll see who waves their hand out first here.
And Manning's in a spot he can afford to do that, Tim. He's got 5+ seconds on Trent Ringler and Ryan Lowe, and really, he is walking away. And walking away is probably an understatement because he's walking away at the pace of about 2 to 3 tenths per lap. That is huge for Ryan Manning. That car continues to have great drive, great maneuverability in the corners. Nobody's got anything for him as he once again lengthens his lead by about 2 or 3 tenths over Trent Ringler. And if you're Manning, go to lap 80. You'll just have fresher tires at the end. You'll have probably a little less fuel because you don't have to fill it as full as everybody else. And that's bad news for Ryan Manning because I don't see anybody else really picking up that much to where Manning's disadvantage of staying out can become any sort of advantage for anybody else. One car on pit road that was up in 4th, Armando Vargas. Long stop on pit road. He'll rejoin the fray, but looks like problems on the 15. That might affect his night, Joe.
We're almost got 3 wide there. It looks like we've got another car down there on the apron getting ready to come down pit road. No, it's going off pit road. That's the number 12 of Brian Ammerman. He's going to lose some position. He tries to figure it out. Now we got more cars coming down pit road as well. Matt Kocher down on pit road. Trent Ringler, the man who was from. And we have problems now as Thomas Stockens gets loose coming off of turn number 4. So much stuff going on track. I can't even keep it straight. More drivers down on pit road. Chance Siegler, Michael Van de Sal, all down. Jeff Tugart, all down the attention of their crews.
Most of these guys coming down pit road here behind your leader, Ryan Manning. Trent Ringler, as you mentioned, Joe, on pit road getting service on his race car. Brian Castle at the end of pit road coming down to pit road, and he is being joined by, I believe that's the number 2 car. So everybody seems to be coming down pit road. We wait for Ryan Manning, and there he is down on pit road, car number 10. Tony, it looks like everybody else may have forced his hand a little bit for him to come down.
Well, like I said, Tim, I mean, he's lapping 3 tenths of a lap faster than the field as it is. He could have afforded to stay out a little bit longer if he so chose. Apparently the crew deciding that that was not the better idea at the moment, so they decide to stay on sequence with everybody else. They'll come down pit road and bring that number 10 in. It will be a 4-tire stop. Crew goes around to the right side, 5 off and 5 on as they pound 2 new Goodyear Virtual Racing Eagles onto that side of the car. They'll top off the fuel tank, do the same tire service on the left side. Crew drops the jack. He is down and away. Ryan Manning, the leader, the only scheduled pit stop of the night, has completed. Let's see where he all shakes out.
Let's see where they all shake out as we continue to run. Green flag here on lap number 68. Now car number 7 looks like it sounds like having some issues. As he's side by side with the 5, tried to make the pass on that number 5 machine. No dice though. Trent Ringler going to keep moving forward. Thomas Stockes currently your leader as now the 5-7-3, 3 wide at the start finish line, getting ready to make some decisions at turn number 1 and 2. 3 makes a check up high. Alex Bergeron makes a pass. So does Trent Ringler, and I believe those cars are a lap down, so they will get their lap back. Stockes retains the lead.
Man, what a wonderful save that was by the 7 of Bergeron to keep that thing off the 3 and keep us under the green flag condition. We have 5 cars, I believe, up front that have yet to pit, led by Tom Mustakas, Krizik in the 20, and John Ryan in the 11. And the 11's actually in a ton of traffic here. Chris Pence in the 18 behind him. The 15 trying to make his way through here. That's Armando Vargas. We talked about him earlier. He's got new tires. He's trying to navigate some of the slower traffic, Tony. It's a little bit of a hornet's nest back there. 11 and 18, though, would be a battle for position number 3 as they continue to stay on the racetrack.
Battle for position, but when you have all these cars trying to slice the way around you and make their way back onto the lead lap, hopefully before a caution comes out, it can get just a little bit hairy, and that's what we're seeing right now. As much as John Ryan and Chris Pence would love to duke it out, or, well, maybe not Ryan as much as Pence, but nonetheless, as much as they would love to try to race their own race, so having to deal with all these cars that are considerably faster than they are, trying to maneuver around them, it looks like now they finally have got themselves sorted out and running by their lonesome. And Ryan Manning, who was our former leader, he's about 15 seconds behind Tom Mustakas. And remember, Mustakas still has to come down pit road. So once everything cycles out, Manning will re-inherit the lead as he just made a pass for 5th on Brian Vieira, moving himself back into the top 5. And Manning is on a mission. Anybody else who was behind him before is once again 5 seconds plus in arrears. If this continues the way the first half did, Joe, it's going to be 10 plus seconds from Manning back to second place. That is huge here at Iowa.
That's about an eternity right now, that 10-second gap. Thomas Dacus, your leader, and your next top 4 are Chandler Krizik, John Ryan, Chris Pence, all your top 4, which leaves Ryan Manning, the heir apparent, to ultimately pick up the lead once everybody cycles through and comes down pit road. Thomas Dacus now starting to lose some of that steam he had earlier to the number 20 of Chandler Krizik. Krizik picking up about 0.2 of a second that time by, and using a little bit of draft help from the 6 of Michael Vandesol in front of him. Krizik could be able to pick it up, though, if he keeps moving forward. Right now he's moving back as he's going to get the pass from the 21 of Brian Castle, currently running position number 14, 1 lap down.
6-car Vandesol gets his lap back, and that would be 13 drivers on the lead lap. At this point, the 21 of Brian Castle trying to do the same thing to the leader, Tom Mustakas. But, Tony, here's the thing. Ryan Manning runs in position number 5 right now. 5 seconds back from Ryan Manning is Ryan Lowe. He currently sits in position number 2 of those drivers that came on to pit road. Ammerman, Ringler, Bergeron, that would be the top 5 as they shake out. But right now, obviously, Mustakas, Krizik, Ryan, a few others on the racetrack still have yet to come down pit road, as it looks like the Ryan Lowe machine has just made his way past the 25 of Vieira to close in a little bit closer to Ryan Manning, but still about 5 seconds between those two.
And Tim, I'm to the point now I don't know what Tom Mustakas is thinking. He's making his bet at this point, and he's forcing himself to lie in it, and pretty quickly he's going to have a battle for the lead on his hands. Krizik has reeled him into the back bumper in turn number 3. Chandler Krizik in the number 20 started 10th on the night. Here he is battling for the top spot, and all this is going to let all of these cars that just pitted close right in on him. This is going to become a huge snake's nest, and oh, watch out. Just about wiped them out in turn number 1. They are everywhere as the leaders try to battle for position. They're 3 wide. They're nearly 4 wide down the back straightaway. This might not work very well. This could be the caution Mustakas wanted, and somehow they're able to get through that into the speedway without any sort of problems. Mustakas holds on to the point, and here comes Krizik. He wants it in turn number 1.
5 cars found a way to get around Tom Mustakas, and Chandler Krizik makes it 6. We have a new leader now on scoring lap number 80. Well, maybe, as Krizik tries to get around the 3 of Mustakas. Mustakas won't have it. He's going to try to make the pass one more time on the outside. Not going to happen. Krizik will take the lead away as Mustakas touches the wall. Mustakas running out of options now. He's going to need a pit stop.
He's running out of real estate, too, because if he keeps trying to push that wall back, it's definitely not going to move. Tom Mustakas back to position number 2 right now, and a little bit of damage to the right side of that race car. Ryan Manning closing in 3 seconds now between your driver that has come down pit road, Tony, and the top 2 who have yet to visit pit road.
Tim, this might be a virtual simulation, but one thing is for certain, it adheres to all the laws of physics of just two objects cannot occupy the same spot at the same time. Tom Moustakis just learned that a few laps ago off turn number 4. It reminds me of that old song, Joe. What was it? I fall off the wall and the wall one. I fall off the wall and the wall one. Maybe that wasn't actually the lyrics, but
no, I think those lyrics actually. Now that you mention it.
Law, wall, what's the difference?
It's not about the same thing. Another guy who's fighting the law and winning is Ryan Manning, who's come out of nowhere after his pit stop to come back to the lead. Now he's going to take away position number 2 from Moustakis. Only one guy to pass now, and that's the 20 of Chandler Krizik. Krizik better enjoy the lead while he's got it, as he ain't going to have it for a whole lot longer, as the 10 creeping closer and closer with every second.
And there goes Ryan Manning for the lead position. Move the 10 car back up to the top, lap number 84, and it'll be Ryan Manning going back to the top of the scoring pylon. And with that pit strategy, Tony, these guys were picking on a caution. They didn't get it. Krizik stays out on the racetrack, so does Moustakis. I can see where they were coming from. You stay out on the racetrack, you keep a lot of guys one lap down, they're not going to get the wave around. But now we saw those 5 cars make their way past those 2. There's now 21 drivers on the lead lap, and they're now behind the 8 ball. Not a winning strategy either way, but a strategy to maybe move you up some track position. Unless they get a caution, it's not going to help them right now.
And Tim, that's exactly it. They need a caution now, because if they pit, they're going to go a lap down. They're going to be mired outside the top 20, back in the scrubs, as we would call it, the also-rans of the field. So they're desperately praying for a yellow at this point. If the yellow came out at any point, between now and when pit stop started, they would have been sitting pretty. Even if it comes out right now, they're probably sitting pretty, because more than likely everybody would come to pit road and get 4 new skins to put on these cars and have a shot to run it to the finish. But if they're forced to come to pit road under green, and they've got to be getting very, very close on mileage, then they're toast. Their strategy is bitting them in the rear. And I'll give them credit, Joe. It's a valiant effort. You got to do something if you know you can't win on sheer speed. But unfortunately, this time they need to go play their luck at the casino just up the road to Prairie Meadows place, because it's not working right now at Iowa.
Yellow out, 13 cars parked on the back straightaway. And that's Barbugli. He may have had a little bit of contact with the number 20 to bring out the yellow flag, but nevertheless, it is the 13 and 25. Check that, bringing out the caution. And Tony, the 25 comes off the wall and down a couple grooves, and that's a tough break for that 13. I don't think to that point the 25 had come down pit road, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think he had either. Either way, that car looked very tight on the outside, and he just tried to keep it off the wall, and then as we talked earlier, it got a little happy on him. He couldn't quite save it before getting into Barbugli, and that brings out the yellow flag that Krizik and Moustakis needed. Not sure it's going to play out any different than what it would have earlier for Moustakis, but I think it's a big win for Chandler Krizik. He was not anywhere near the top 10 earlier. Here he is in second, and as we expected, yes, everybody, and I do mean everybody on the lead lap, coming down pit road. Tires too valuable here at Iowa. We expect 4 tires and fuel for everyone at the front of the field. Some damage notably on the number 1 of Ryan Lowe. The 20 of Krizik been up a little bit, as is the 3 of Moustakis. They'll have a chance now to pull some of that away from the tires and try to get it straightened out momentarily. But again, 4 tires and fuel expected for everybody, as Krizik misses the stall slightly, but everybody else continues service as normal.
Everyone continuing service, and no surprise to what they're getting down there. 4 tires, full tank of fuel, virtual Sunoco racing fuel, and it will be the 10 of Ryan Manning. That's the first one down and away, followed by the 4 of Matt Kocher. Chandler Krizik will be third off. Alex Bergeron, Trent Ringler come off as your top 5 off of pit road. And it looks like a handful of guys are still on the track. These are ride the lap down cars. They include, but are not limited to, Kenny Lopez, who was a lap down, Kyle Young, Bruno Barbugli, John Ryan, all trying to get hoping to get the wave around and hoping they can get back on the lead lap. And at this point, with not a whole lot to lose, guys, with less than 50 laps to go, 30, we're now at 35 laps to go. Go for it.
Ryan Lowe caught for speeding, and Matt Coker took 2 tires. They're all going to line up behind Ryan Manning. We're going to step away for just a few moments' time. We'll bring you back to some more racing here at the Iowa Speedway, closing in on the end of this NASCAR iRacing a Class B Series Open event. Don't go away. Welcome back to the Iowa Speedway. We work our first caution of the evening, but that's about to go back to a green flag condition. Ryan Manning, Matt Coker, Chandler Krizik, Alex Bergeron, Trent Ringler, top 5, Tom Moustakis in position number 6. Tony, that strategy worked out for Krizik. Going to line up third behind one driver who took 2 tires on that last stop. And Tom Moustakis going to line up in position number 6. It worked out for them. We'll see what they can do now in this short run.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how it works out. Number 1 for 2 tires. Number 2 for these guys, particularly Moustakis. Why? Moustakis, remember, was very good for about 30 laps at the open of the race and then went to junk. How many laps are left? Just about 30. iRacing Ford Mustang will duck to the safety of pit road. Ryan Manning and Matt Coker are going to lead them down for what we anticipate could be the final restart of the night. And like a cannonball, shot out ahead of the field. There goes Ryan Manning. He's up to 3-4 car lengths already. The battle is for second, third behind him. Look at him fan out 2, nearly 3 wide down the backside.
This is going to be your opportunity to pick up every position. Ringler gets it loose in corner number 3. Up the racetrack he goes, and somehow he saves it. Car in front of him gets loose. Amarin, the 2.
Oh, here we go.
18, and we've got a mess off corner number 4. Caution flag will fly, and there's over a half dozen cars involved in this one.
Yeah, Tim, that one was not pretty. It all started with Trent Ringler bottling up the field as they came off turn number 4. And you could just almost sense it was getting ready to happen. They tried going 4 wide on one of the bottlenecks of the racetrack. And the other thing that didn't help was down at the very, very bottom of the side of the speedway was the number 12, it looked like. Check that. The 12 of Brian Ammerman. Ammerman also was slow after he got loose. And that bottled up not only the top but the bottom. Everybody on the brakes, just the accordion effect, cars running into each other, and we took out a good 6, 7, if not 8 cars in that incident. So really it started with 2 separate incidents, Tim, that by themselves wouldn't have been a big deal, but considering they happened all together at the same spot on the racetrack, that's what caused all the chaos.
You know, that could have been a lot bigger about a half lap before that. Trent Ringler was working underneath Tom Moustakis. The 20 and the 7 are side by side. Ringler tries to shoot a hole to the outside, and as we saw, got that thing a little bit loose and had everything checked up, and all of a sudden, as soon as that happens, you mentioned the 12 gets a little bit loose and it all stacks up behind them. But the 5 of Trent Ringler, he got a little bit of air, and he's got a lot of front and rear suspension damage. He's got to with that race car, with the way the 2 car came in and hit him on the rear end as well. So Ringler going to come on to pit road, and this is going to be an extended stop for car number 5, and there's going to be a lot of damage to be repaired. A lot of cars behind him also coming on, taking the opportunity to come down pit road and get service to their race cars.
Yeah, tough break for the pole sitter, Trent Ringler. The hood completely bashed in, as you said. Most likely pieces of the suspension are, in fact, bent, and he brought it to pit road and just shut it off. He's going to let the crew go to work. Left front completely destroyed on the Trent Ringler car as well, so it's going to be a long stay on pit road for the pole sitter in car number 5. He was poised to have a very good run, Tim, and it just shows you one little slip up at the wrong time here at Iowa. I mean, all she wrote for your entire race after devoting all that time and effort to it here at what has proven to be a very, very tempting, or not tempting, intimidating racetrack here in the Heartland.
And I think it's going to put some drivers behind the wall, or at least down on pit road for a little while to fix some damage. At this point in the race, we have 24 drivers on the racetrack and on the lead lap. Chris Jennings, the only driver that is currently not on the racetrack, and he retired about 41 laps ago. So we're going to have two distinct packs, I think, right now, Tony. We're going to have drivers, and I put it even above the 15 or so. The 2 was involved in that incident, had a little bit of damage, and I'm surprised he didn't come down pit road to get service to that race car to at least check that thing out and get some damage repaired. But Armando Vargas made it through. A couple of guys in front of him might have a little bit of damage from earlier, but nevertheless, 10 drivers right now or so look pretty pristine. Those guys on back, some of them a little worse for wear, and some of them are going to just try to hang on here and see what they can salvage at the end of this one. It's just a matter of if we can keep it all straight and finish this race under the green flag.
Well, Tim, the trend to Iowa over the years in both sim racing and, for that matter, even in physical racing, tends to be the opening part of the race goes very long, very clean, very green. You get one opportunistic caution, it bunches everybody up, and because of the very racy nature of this racetrack, everybody leaves their brains in the pit lane. That's exactly what happens. They continue just to go at it full bore, and they try to get as many spots as they can. The racetrack's got enough grip, it's wide enough, but you've really got to be careful when you get in these big packs of 3, 4, sometimes 5 wide here at Iowa. Yeah, you think it's crazy, we've seen it before. And all that leads to the problems. And I can't blame them, Tim. You're getting down to crunch time. There will be 26 laps to go when we go green. Get what you can get. And if you're a Matt Coker or somebody that used pit strategy to move your way forward in this one, it might work out for you a lot better than you would anticipate.
Here we go. Ryan Manning going to lead this thing back to green, and he is on it as the pace car goes off. Green flag back in the air, and here comes the 7 to the inside of the 4, Alex Bergeron, trying to move to position number 2 and make his way near the front of the field and see if he has anything for Ryan Manning in car number 10. Behind them, they're stacking up a little bit. Castle loose in the 21.
Oh, Castle hard in the wall. Here we go once again. They're crashing over in turn number 3, and we've got another pileup. Vieira is in it. The 16 of Ducart, I believe, caught a piece of it as well. And you said it, Tim, it all started with Brian Castle in car 21. He got out of shape coming off turn number 2. Did that hospital wobble down the back straightaway, kept it off of Vargas, and poor Brian Ammerman caught a piece of it. He spun in front of the field, and then everybody else behind him just piled in. And that also could have been very, very bad, taking out a few more cars than maybe what we did see. But nonetheless, they really piled in hard back there towards the back of the field and put us under the 3rd caution of the night.
So Ryan Manning once again will lead this thing. The one thing that is going to change up in front, though, is Alex Bergeron going to move to position number 2. Was on it on that restart. Is he coming down pit road, or is that just a fake? No, he's going to fake coming down onto pit road. And Matt's going to stay there in position number 3. 2 tires on the last time he came down pit road. Tom Mustakas quietly in 4th, and then the 17 is Segler moving back into position number 5. Krizik mentioned that strategy call earlier, Tony, not working out as well compared to some of those guys when they all get on even keel. Krizik is back to position number 6 already.
Yeah, he's certainly making something out of what at one point looked to be nothing, running in that 6th spot. And again, all the comers and goers in this race is just simply amazing to me, Tim. You see how everybody has used pit strategy to their advantage, or used simply a long run to their advantage. Look in the top 5. There are 2 people in the top 5 that even started in the top 10. Manning, who started 4th, and Moustakis, who started 6th. Bergeron started 12th. Coker started 19th. Sigler started 14th. Even Krizik started way back in the 10th spot. He runs in the 6th position. So a lot of comers and goers, as we said. And, Krizik's pit strategy working out appears. Same for Moustakis. And when this chaos happens, though, Joe, it's wild how these crazy strategies can work out because simply there's no chance for anybody else to pass you if you stay under caution at the end of the race.
No, you're absolutely right. And now we're getting to the point where business is really picking up. And at this point, you don't want to see a yellow flag. Sure, at the middle point of the race, when everything was on the line, you certainly want to see that yellow flag because it could have made or broke your pit strategy. But now at this point in the race, these guys don't want to see yellow flags. They just want to go racing. And they know that with every yellow flag that they see out there, it is one less opportunity for them to do what they do best. Go racing, turn left, and try to get around the guy in front of them.
So up in front, as we mentioned, those guys have been constant all night long. Those are the guys we've been talking about. And then there's some drivers that we usually see up front with this Class B series that are having some tough luck. Obviously, Trent Ringler, your pole sitter, sitting on pit road, still getting damage repaired, 5 laps down now. Brian Castle into the wall in that last incident. He's back in position number 20, came down to get damage repaired to that race car. Ammerman, Dukart, back there around 16th, 17th or so. They are also going to have to dig deep in these final few laps, Tony, to not only get up to the front and steal some spotlight here on iRacing night, but also trying to limit the damage on the point situation because those guys are running for points in this 33-week-long season.
And you do get some drop races, Tim. A certain percentage of your races get dropped as your worst finishes, but you do not want to take any more of those than you absolutely have to. Just like any other form of racing, anytime you strap in the race car or push the virtual button in this case to climb in, you run the risk of something happening. And unfortunately tonight, for some of those guys like Ammerman and Davis and drivers like that, even Trent Ringler, it has not worked out well. The bad night has gotten even worse in a lot of cases. So bad news for them, but by the same token, guys that are having solid runs, this is good for them, Joe. They're able to maybe boost their point total a little bit throughout the course of the week and help move themselves up in the course of the 33-week standings. So on each side of the coin, on each coin there are 2 sides. And as much as we like to look at the heads, there's a tail side to it as well. When the good guys have a bad night, the guys that aren't having a great night, they get to have a chance at a good night.
Absolutely, they do. It's a great equalizer. When you look at it, it's absolutely a great equalizer out there that gives them a shot to try to even it out as we get ready to go back to green flag racing.
Working through 3 and 4, Ryan Manning, Alex Bergeron now your top 2. We'll see if Bergeron can get anything rocking on that high side and try to take it away from Ryan Manning. Manning has been the class of the field most of this evening. 20 laps to go. Green flag back in the air, and Manning is on it. The 4 of Coker to the inside of Bergeron. They go side by side as they dive into corner number 1, and there is Moustakis trying to make something happen from 4th.
Moustakis is there further back in turn 1. Junior Bobrema just about had a moment. He bobbled getting into the corner. He keeps it straight, no problem today as we come by to complete lap number 106. And on that restart, whoa, trouble, turn number 4, the 11 car, Ryan gets turned around. He is up into the outside wall. This brings out the caution once again. And just like we talked about, this race tends to go yellow fever at the end. He had a little bit of help from Jeff Dukart. Dukart caught a piece of it, and somehow only 2 cars really getting substantial damage. The 11 of Ryan and the 21 of Brian Castle, whose night has gone from bad to worse. T-boning right here at the start-finish line just as he came back across the racetrack. So caution number 4 now on the speedway.
Well, 16 probably picked up a little bit of front-end damage as well. You can't T-bone the 11 like the way he did and not flatten that front end out, which is not only going to reduce the drag, but also is going to block up that front end a little bit and cut off the air needed to that engine. So the 11 and 16 both in pain. The 21 feeling it even harder as a fourth caution flag comes out tonight. And that's exactly what I was just saying a moment ago. Business is picking up. Guys are getting impatient. They're making their moves. The problem is they're making their moves too soon, and it's costing them these penalty points, these penalty laps. So when these guys do go back to green flag racing, their time is running even shorter, which means only one thing. We're going to continue to see this until we ultimately crown a champion. That's great if your name right now is Ryan Manning. If you're anybody else, you've got to be feeling the frustration just a little bit.
And I'm sure those guys throughout the field, even if you are Ryan Manning, Alex Bergeron, Mustakas, those guys that are up front, you're getting really good at your restarts. That's probably the only positive about it. Ryan Manning controls these restarts, so he has a little bit of an advantage. The 4 and the 7 have swapped places the last couple of restarts, with the 7 now going to have the advantage behind the leader. He's going to be able to go when Ryan Manning does and maybe catch Matt Coker at the wrong position on the outside. But when you look at the way these cautions have flown, this is what? Caution number 4, Tony? I think the longest run that we've had since we've seen our first caution has been maybe a lap or so. It really puts in your momentum after starting this race. Over half of this race running consecutively.
Well, like I said, Tim, this is the way races always seem to play out at Iowa. You're fine early, and late you get a rash of yellow fever because the track is wide enough, it has enough grip, and the drivers are confident enough to try to make these moves that otherwise might be a little too risky earlier in the race. So you do all that, guys make mistakes, cars do things you didn't expect them to do, and you make contact with the competitors around you and end up in these precarious spots. And I also want to draw attention, you were talking about the restart, Tim, and what Bergeron can do this time on Manning. Did you see what kind of shot Manning got on that restart? Even with Bergeron, who has 4 fresh tires, he was just shot out of a gun. There was nobody that has anything for Manning on a restart. And if you're going to get by Manning, Joe, I think you've got to do it on a restart. You're not going to run him down on sheer speed. You're going to have to do something on a restart. But if he keeps mixing it up like this and keeps getting these advantages as soon as we go to the go pedal, it's all she wrote for the rest of the competition.
Oh, absolutely it is. That number 10 has just been so tough to beat all night. It has been so in demand and has been driving so incredibly well as they double up. This should be our last yellow flag lap. We should go back to green flag racing, scoring number 112. The 10 has just been so strong. The 10, one of the drivers from the team that has been so dominant in the Peak Antifreeze series. Ryan Manning right now is the guy to beat, and if he gets a shot again, he's gone, and the rest of the field, all they can do is sit there and watch as he takes off. Second to that, if we get more caution flags, Ryan Manning doesn't do anything but lead the big parade around the track.
So Ryan Manning and Matt Kosher, last time Kosher was down on pit road on the caution, was a 2-tire stop, compared to most of these guys around him, Tony, who took 4 tires. And Joe brought up a point. Coming up next Tuesday, if you like what you see here on iRacing Night, you want to join us for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing. The venue for the next race is the Charlotte Motor Speedway. 200 laps, one of the longest races of our season, comes up next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway here on Tuesday night on iRacing Night, NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, on fanschoice.tv, iRacing Live, and all of our affiliates. We'll see if Kenny Humpy can continue to build on the lead that he has. But last week it was Alan Bowes pulling off an upset. Can we see another one of those? We have to be here to find out next week.
And Tim, Charlotte of all places is known for first-time winners. Think back in the Cup Series, just off the top of my head. Jeff Gordon got his first race win there. Matt Kenseth has won there. Bobby Labonte, I think, got his first win there. Casey Mears and so many others. And even in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, drivers like Danny Hansen have gotten their first win there. Tyler Hill, now a Peak driver, got his first Pro Series win at Charlotte. So the opportunity certainly presents itself in Race City, USA, Charlotte, North Carolina, to pull another upset in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series next week. But that is 7 days from now. We're going to try to settle it out here in Corn Country. Manning bottled them up on the restart, got to going, and he's out already. 3-4 car lengths now over Coker and Bergeron. And look at the chaos behind them as they fan out 3 and 4 wide into turn number 1.
They settled it out real quick, but still too wide as far as the eye can see here at Iowa Speedway. Single file now all the way up through about the 8th position as a 6:24.15 almost make it 3 wide, 24 and 6. Still battling side by side. Billy Weeks on the outside, Michael Vandesol on the inside. Vandesol can't get anything going, and more battling behind him.
Side by side, stacked about 3 or 4 deep right now. The 6 slides up in front of the 23. Vargas to the inside. The 23 got the wall. 13 going to get a little piece.
Here we
The
go.
23 is going to go sliding into the 2, and we are going to have another caution flag here. The 23 and the 2 spawn out of corner number 4 to bring out yet another yellow flag.
Just like we said, Tim, guys are taking chances that they wouldn't normally take. All those cars around, and for that matter, the drivers around them, bobbling, shaking, weaving, on the edge of control in those couple of laps, and that's what we've come to expect. And it looks like that was completing lap number 114. So with 11 laps to go, we're under yellow. About 7 or 8 laps to go, and we get a restart. And Joe, it's getting to the point now that this continues to amplify itself because drivers know they're getting closer to the end of the race. These moves matter more. They see more and more yellow fever, and they're more and more likely to take a chance that might bring out a yellow flag. It might kill the racing for everybody else, but they really don't care about everybody else. They care simply about their own race and what they can get at this point.
At this point in the race, at this short of a track, it is less about what everybody else wants and more about what I want. It's more about what's best for me, what's best for my business. And for these guys, they are no longer interested in helping each other out. No, they're only interested in doing whatever it takes to get up front. For some, it's working out better. For others, they're still struggling as they try to figure out how to race this track and how to race their other drivers around them. Guys, we're also getting to the point where we need to start thinking about when this race ends under yellow. Remember, there is no overdrive finish. There is no attempt at green, white, checkered in the NASCAR, in the iRacing sim. So, if we get another yellow flag, that could be the end of the race. We're 10 laps left to go, 9 laps when we cross start finish line, guys. One more yellow flag, and that's all she wrote.
And to Joe's point, Tony, not giving each other an inch, it's all about me. I think that attitude came in when the first caution flag flew here this evening. Way past that halfway point after all the pit stops had happened, except for a couple of drivers there. And it's worked out for Mustakas and Krizik so far, top 5 run for those two. But you look at the 23 of Kenny Lopez, has that slide job happen in front of him, gets up into the wall, and instead of trying to hold it up there against the wall, he tries to break himself free from the wall, comes back down in front of traffic, and gets into the 13 car, I believe it was, and bounces back and gets loose and brings back the caution flag, gets into the 2, and all that ensues. So if he would have held it up against the fence, it's easy for us to say that we're sitting up here and we're not in the race car, virtual race car, but if he would have kept it up against the wall, yes, he would have lost a bunch of positions. Caution flag probably wouldn't have flown, but he probably would have been in the same position that he is right now because he's at 17th place. And the 2 car probably wouldn't have had any damage.
Well, and the kicker to me, Tim, is that might be true, but Lopez stayed out. He thought about coming down pit road, but then stayed out under this caution flag. Car beat the smithereens, and tires probably junk on it, but he decided to stay on the racetrack. So apparently he thinks there's going to be one more quick caution, enough to offset whatever the loss would be for him running around with a bunch of damage on the car. So kind of weird how all this is going to work out. We're still under yellow, working lap number 118. So when we go back green, it looks like we will be with 6 laps to go, and that's not a lot of time to get the job done. I don't know at this point if anybody can get the job done on Ryan Manning. It's going to take a colossal failure of sorts for Manning to lose this race, I think, Joe.
It's going to take a colossal failure on so many levels, guys. But you know what? They're going to have to try it again, and they're going to have to see what they can do to make it work out there. Right now, if you're Manning, you've got the lead, and all you got to do is just keep holding on, keep getting those great starts. For everybody else, you got to get the other guy out of your way before you can make it work.
You look out the back of the leader, Ryan Manning, as the lights go out. So this time by, we'll have one more lap of pacing, and then we'll go back to green flag racing. So we'll have 6 laps to go when we throw the green flag once again. And This might very well be the final restart, Tony. If we wad him up again on the first lap of green, there might be one more, but this could very well be the final restart of this event. We'll see if Manning can hold on to this. Kosher and Mustakas running in second and third. They're going to try to finish this thing off. We'll see what happens here on this last restart, or what could be the last restart, Tony.
It'll be interesting, no doubt, to see exactly how all this pans out, if it even has the opportunity to pan out at all, Tim. The iRacing Ford Mustang going to make the very hard left-hand turn for hopefully the last time of the night. On to the safety of pit road. Manning very quickly on the loud pedal, and he gets a huge advantage. That'll draw the 7 of Bergeron up even with Coker. Those two going to race side by side. There's Bergeron bobbling on the bottom. He'll have Coker to motor right back around the outside. And here comes Mustakas and Ziegler all in the middle of that. Krizik is there too. All the while, Manning has checked out in turn 3.
Manning is checked out. Say goodbye to him. He could walk away with this race very easily. Matt Kocher now getting around the 7 machine of Alex Bergeron. Look who's up for the ride as well. Tom Mustakas trying to get around, trying to pick up a podium position as well. 7, he's going to fight as hard as he can. Bergeron not giving an inch. Side by side, 5 to go.
You got to remember, we've had a lot of caution laps. The 4 is on 2 tires compared to the 3 and the 7, who are both on 4. Matt trying to hold on to position number 2. Behind them, they're continuing to battle side by side. Mustakas down the front will take the position away. Bergeron will dive in to corner number 1 to try to pick up position number 3. The 17 is Ziegler and Krizik and the rest of the field trying to pick up positions here late in this race. We come by this time, and 1:22 will be completed.
Just 3 laps to go. As further back towards the end of the top 10, it's getting a little hot and heavy. Armando Vargas just about got into Bruno Barbugli and spun him out a lap ago. Oh, now we have trouble. Around goes the number 12 of Brian Ammerman, hard into the outside wall, and that's effectively going to end this one. Ammerman, the victim of circumstance, getting into the first turn, brings out what I believe is caution number 6. And guess who else was involved? Kenny Lopez, who was on the most recent caution as well. Tough break for both of those drivers, but Ammerman's night has been horrendous here at Iowa, and it ends up once again in the safer barrier in turn number 1.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that does it for us here from Iowa Speedway. This thing is going to end under caution, and Ryan Manning, who has been dominant all night, is going to walk away with the race very, very handily. All he's got to do is complete a parade lap, and Ryan Manning will walk away with the win. Matt Kocher second, Tom Mustakas first, Alex Bergeron fourth, and Shannon Ziegler rounding out your top. Guys, a hard-fought race, but at the end of the day, just like Highlander, there can only be one. And for you guys, was there any doubt that that one was going to be Ryan Manning? Because personally speaking, there was no doubt from this end.
Yeah, Manning dominated the 2/3 to the finish of this race. Trent Ringler strong at the start as we get the white flag right here. But Ryan Manning, after we got a couple of green flag laps in, he was the driver to beat. And speaking of Ringler, Ringler is back out on the speedway, and he is running 10 laps down. And the only reason why he's out on the racetrack, Tony, is to pass Jeff Dukart. Dukart not on the racetrack right now, but he is also 10 laps down. So Ringler, for what it's worth in the grand scheme of the point standings, will pick up 1 position here and move himself up to position number 23 in this event. The 22 is going to get the free pass. He was 7 laps down. He's now going to be 6th. For what it's worth, he's not going to gain a position, but that was the car you just saw go past the field. But up front, Ryan Manning in car number 10, one of the drivers from the team, going to pick up another victory and put another trophy in the case for the team, as he'll come underneath the checkered flag here and win the NASCAR iRacing.com Class B Open Series event at the Iowa Speedway. Matt Kosher in position number 2. Tom Mustakas, Bergeron, Ziegler, top 5. Krizik comes home in 6th. Great run for him, considering all that strategy that he had to play out this evening.
Yeah, strategy certainly worked out for a couple of drivers, Mustakas being one of them, Krizik being the other, and for that matter, Matt Coker. 2 tires in the final stop, able to come out, well, almost on top for him. He steals a runner-up finish after starting 19th, so kudos to him and the Ford team as Ryan Manning slides it through the grass here on the front straightaway at Iowa. He's going to tear it up, and we get ready, Joe, to head to break and do our post-race show. But Ryan Manning, a very, very happy customer.
Of course, Ryan Manning's a very happy guy. He just won at Iowa, arguably one of the hardest tracks to win at that the B-Series goes to. So Ryan Manning's going to definitely tear it up, and a lot of guys going to walk away with tonight's race with a lot of lessons, especially about pit strategy and making pit strategy work for you. Look for these guys to really take to the notepad when they get to the light of day tomorrow and really start to figure out what did I do wrong, and more importantly, what could I have done better in order to position myself for a good race here. Nonetheless, excellent race by everybody involved. No one has anything to be ashamed of.
We'll step away for a few moments' time, bring you back to the post-race show. We'll talk to a few of these drivers who finished up near the front of this field at the Iowa Speedway. You're watching iRacing Night here on iRacing Live and FansChoice.tv.
Welcome back to the Iowa Speedway, the NASCAR Xfinity Series Class B division here on iRacing. What a night it was, and what a great, exciting race we had for 125 laps here at the 7/8 mile Iowa Speedway, Joe. Couldn't ask for anything better. Typical short track racing. That's about all you can say.
Well, absolutely. Short track racing with a little bit more powerful car than you normally see at a track like Iowa. But it made for a lot of fun racing, a lot of challenging racing, a little yellow at the end, little yellow fever at the end. But when all was said and done, the guy who worked the hardest for it, the guy who really wanted this win more than anybody, definitely picked it up at the end of the day.
That he certainly did. And in fact, that guy is standing by with Tim Terry. Tim?
Ryan Manning down in victory lane. Ryan, let's talk about that race. A lot of green flag running at the start, and it seemed like this car was the only one in its own zip code out in front of the field during that green flag run.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Didn't have a whole lot of time in the setup. I had something Crawford had helped me with for Richmond, and it transferred over pretty well. A few spring changes here and there, and I didn't think it had that speed over the long run, but it turns out it did. And it was fun. It's still evil to drive. Felt awful to drive every lap of it, but it was fast, so I couldn't complain.
How rewarding or frustrating was it in those last 30 laps or so to see so many cautions?
Well, it helped me. It kept me from making too many mistakes. On one of those restarts, I overdrove turn one by about 35 car lengths, and I thought I didn't give it away, and then the caution came out and saved me. But it's frustrating. I wish it just would have played on out all the way through, because I had never ran a green flag run all the way through at Iowa before, so it would have been interesting.
It's another Tuesday night, and the team is still on top. How big is this win here on iRacing Night?
For me, it's big. This is my favorite car out of the whole team. I work on it mainly. I get Kenny to run some laps for me, and he tells me what it does and doesn't have, and I tweak some things, but it's good. I'm glad I could win for him. or sometime during the race, Kenny tweeted something, and I seen it pop up on my phone, and it was instant pressure, so I was glad I could come through.
And there's our winner, Ryan Manning, here this evening. Great run by the driver from the team to bring it home in position number 1. Joe Cortez is caught up over there with my buddy Matt.
Matt Coacher finishing second tonight here at Iowa Speedway. And Matt, you had a good car, you had a good run. If we would have had like maybe 10 more laps, could you have caught Ryan Manning and challenged for the win?
I mean, this fast lane Chevy Camaro was good all night long. It was real fast. I don't think so. Ryan had that locked up. He was fast one all night. I mean, we started in the back and worked our way up, and then there, when we had that one yellow, I took 2, figuring I could just get some track position. It worked.
It certainly did. Talk to us about pit strategy, especially towards the middle of the race. You were one of the guys who decided to pick more conservative than others. And how much did that work to your advantage? How much did that help you later on in the race?
I was saving my tires the whole night, and then I went in there. I was like, you know what, we're taking 2 tires here. We got nothing to lose. We're already running 6th if we would have cycled back through. So I was like, 2 tires it is, and I just got fortunate enough that we had those cautions at the end there. It was great.
What's next for Matt Coacher and the 4 team?
I mean, we're just running around doing all kinds of races. I was trying to go pro, but that ain't looking out so good. So we're just going to continue running some open races here and there, and then the fixed series all the time.
Matt Coacher finishing second here tonight at Iowa Speedway. Tim, great racing we saw here tonight. A lot of fun racing. And again, as you mentioned in your interview, huge win for the team once again.
And before we close off the show, I see Tom Moustakis has came in here, so quickly going to talk to Tom Moustakis. 3rd place finish, started in 6th, on the way back in 4th. Talk about your run. You satisfied with 3rd?
Way satisfied with 3rd. I stayed out over that green flag run forever, it seemed. I had on my little fuel tracker here, I had 7 laps of fuel left, and I was running about over a second and a half slower than the leader. I know Manning pitted and unlapped himself and then got the lead from me. So yeah, and then you got that yellow, and I was running 3rd or 4th, and was able to get back to 3rd there at the end.
So that strategy plays out. Let's talk about the caution flags. Did you expect that many caution flags that late in the race?
Kind of. I know a lot of the Iowa races I've been in that have a long green flag run. After we get 1 caution, we get about as many as it takes to get to the end. So I figured that's the way it would be, and was able to get a little bit of a couple laps there at the end where I was able to get around Alex for 3rd.
We saw you doing a lot of official races here on the service. Where do we see you running, and are you going to make a run for the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series?
I don't think I'm going to be running for pro much, but I've been running a lot of C Open and C Fixed, and the occasional B race, some A Fixed. That's about it. Don't really have too much time to commit to iRacing anymore, but still find it fun, and this race was fun. Finishing 3rd is good.
And still fast every time we see you. That's Tom Moustakis coming home position number 3, and I believe Tony Stevens has caught up with our 4th place finisher, Alex Bergeron.
Indeed, I have. Tim, the driver of the number 7. And Alex, did you have anything for Ryan Manning? Because it looked like those restarts, he would just kill you and take away any shot that you might have had to get to him.
I know, that was a good race. He got a good run on me, but I did my setup 10 minutes before the race, so that's mean I got a good run and finished 4th. I'm satisfied with that. And yeah.
Alex, what's it like to run here at Iowa when this race goes green the entire distance up until just after pit stops, and then you get this rash of yellow fever? Can you explain what it's like behind the wheel? Do you get anxious? Do you get nervous? Do you start to take risks that otherwise you wouldn't take?
I don't know. I was just riding, just trying to know the lane, and I won a couple of times at Iowa, and I know how many time it's take to take the lead or something like that. But that was pretty good. I was nervous at the end for taking 3rd, but Tom get me, but I'm pretty happy with the top 5.
Well, that's Alex Bergeron in the number 7. He finishes, as he said, in the top 5, I believe second here tonight for Alex Bergeron. Tim Terry, I've been through a bunch of the guys in the top few finishing spots, and I apologize. Bergeron 4th. I'm looking at the sheet and looking at the wrong one, so go figure. But nonetheless, Tim, great night of racing. Your final thoughts before we go ahead and turn this baby in for the night.
Great race in the first half of this race. Strategy by Krizik and Tom Moustakas to put themselves near the front of the field paid off. Caution flag flies, and it's not the first time or last time it flies in that event. Lots of yellow fever at the end. Congratulations to Ryan Manning on picking up the victory. We'll see the series in 2 weeks' time when the series heads to Dover. But next week it's NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing at Charlotte. That series has produced some first-time winners before, Danny Hansen coming to mind. And we'll see if it can continue the trend. Alan Bowes was quick at Richmond. A little bit of fuel strategy, picks up the win there. His teammate comes home in second here this evening. I think it's going to be pretty exciting next week. We'll see who's on their game and see who can possibly top the team once again, because the team was tough to beat here tonight.
Tim, it certainly was, and I want to welcome everybody back into our virtual studio here at PSR TV and iRacing Live. And Joe, like Tim said, great night of racing. Your thoughts before we move on to Charlotte in 1 week's time?
Great night of racing, a lot of fun racing, but I think I'd be remiss if I didn't point out what the one thing that we missed here, Tony, was the lack of NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series drivers. You know why? Because they're getting ready for Charlotte next week. They are focusing their effort on making that racy track the best it can be and doing the best they can on that racy little track that you know so very, very well out there. So great win, great showcase for the up-and-coming talent in this B Series that could ultimately be the guys you start seeing every other Tuesday night here on fanschoice.tv and iRacing Live. Which is great. We need to see these talent. We need to see this talent continue to up and come. But right now, if I'm anyone in the iRacing world, I'm focusing my fixation to next week, to Charlotte, the home of NASCAR, the home of motor racing. It's home track advantage for 43 different drivers, Tony. And what excites me about that most of all is we're going to see, if you thought tonight's race was fun, get ready for an absolute shootout next week.
It's going to be fun, no doubt. One of the most prestigious races on the entire circuit. 300 miles at Charlotte. It's a marathon of an event, but that's one reason it is so special to each and every driver in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. And if you're in Charlotte for race week, for the NASCAR Sprint All-Star Race, stop by the front of the racetrack, come see yours truly, and enjoy all the things that basically the capital of NASCAR racing has to offer. Go see the Hall of Fame, go see all the shops. You never know what you might find. Heck, even if you're lucky on Thursday night, you might see us shooting our little piece down at the NASCAR studios in Charlotte next to the Hall of Fame. All kinds of craziness will happen. But one thing does remain certain. Our congratulations go out to Ryan Manning here tonight at the Iowa Speedway. And we look forward to seeing you next week, same time, same channel, for the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, round number 7 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Things are picking up already, guys, and it's getting a little too hectic, a little too quickly, it seems like. But the middle stages of the race, that is the championship, for $10,000 are right before us, and we're going to see who can make that last little leap to get out in front of the competition before it comes down to crunch time. So be sure to join us next Tuesday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, all these same iRacing Live affiliates and Fans Choice TV. On behalf of Tim Terry, Joe Cortez, the entire iRacing Live production staff, and PSR TV, my name is Tony Stevens, saying congratulations, Ryan Manning, and we'll see you next week from home base, Charlotte, North Carolina. Good night, everybody.